except for a few places that we see that there are a lot of, flash floods. Even the United States have got a fair share of its flooding situation, which is really saddening. Beyond that, I'm sure that the weather across the southeast, south states are pretty cool, and that's that kind of weather that you say, well, it's a perfect weather for a lot of things to happen. I don't know what you do with these kinds of weather, especially when it's one that is pretty cold, pretty nice, and pretty dodgy too. I mean, it's come, do a lot of things to you. All right, we're going straight into the headlines on our dailies this morning. We're starting on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Remember, this channel is all about breaking news from wherever you are in the world, whether it is in Nigeria, Africa, and around the world. The breaking news and its analysis and what exactly you can be doing with this breaking news. So if it's breaking at 12 a.m., you're sure to get it here. If it's breaking by 6 p.m., you're sure to get it here. If it's breaking by 9 p.m., wherever this news is breaking, you are rest assured that this channel will give you that opportunity to bring it to you and to have you react first to the developing story. I want to welcome every one of you. Appreciate you for tuning in. Everything you need in terms of getting across to us or maybe staying in touch with us is on your screen. So straight into the headlines on the dailies. On the Guardian newspaper this morning, we have this screaming headlines. 2 years later, international travel restrictions spark fresh row over absence of ambassadors. All right. International travel restrictions spark fresh row over absence of ambassadors. EFCC decries mind-boggling fraud at NMPCL once unexplained wealth criminalized. EFCC decries mind-boggling fraud at NMPCL once unexplained wealth criminalized. Well, how are you going to do that? Fingers crossed. 2027, don't underrate Tinubu. Ribadu warns opposition. Don't underrate Tinubu. Ribadu warns opposition. Apparently, I should have thought that the best way to go about these kinds of warnings is basically to list out the achievement of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and then use that as a yardstick to say there is no vacancy in the Aso Rock, like they say. But when you just put don't underrate Tinubu, it also almost feels as if there's something he's about to do to the opposition, which he has, clearly been doing, trying to break their necks, break their legs, and even break them from right inside. So you wonder whether really it's a democratic move, as the case may be. All right, still on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Let's still stick to the Guardian a little bit because there are other headlines there on the Guardian. Look at that headlines now. Mutual funds rise by 105% to 5.9 trillion naira in H1 of higher demand yields. JAPA, Canada raises minimum proof of funds to 17 million naira per immigrant. Interesting, isn't it? Niger attack claims 13 as 20 bandits die in Kwara. Again, 20 gunmen raid Aguata local council, kill 4. Delegates will decide who gets ADC's presidential ticket, says Atiku's spokesman. Well, Atiku is not ready to back down when it comes to, these so-called step down for a southern candidate. And there has been this talk about who should take the ticket of ADC, and it almost looks as if the likes of Atiku are out for it again this time around, and this time they're coming with so much force. Only yesterday we had the one and only Kenneth Okonkwo basically coming around to say that look, the only way to defeat Tinubu in 2027 is to field a northern candidate, and that northern candidate should be somebody that the North supports. And he didn't go to say who the person is. He says he would prefer a northern candidate in order to defeat Tinubu in 2027. I really don't know to what extent. I know that his kinswoman, Chimamanda Adichie, has blasted him, saying that that shouldn't be. So we'll read what Chimamanda said was our own reasons why they should be talking about it as northern candidate. So we would get to that shortly But let's also move over right now to the other newspapers that we have for you is the Daily Independent newspaper. On the Daily Independent newspaper this morning, U.S. visa restrictions. It's about reciprocity on Nigeria. Experts. It's about reciprocity on Nigeria. Experts. UAE stops transit visa for Nigerians. UAE stops transit visa for Nigerians. Senate orders probe into Ponzi schemes after 1.3 trillion naira CBEX collapse. All right, the probe apparently is long overdue. Um, I think it is about time that that is done and done quickly too. All right, and elsewhere, we're also looking at this interesting headlines for you. EFCC chair to lawmakers criminalize unexplained wealth or forget anti-corruption victory. Lawyers submits petition to House of Reps against NMDPRA-MD. 6 months after appointment, Ganduje inaugurated chair of fans boards. All right. 6 months after appointments, Ganduje inaugurated chair of FAN's board. Find out the details. 2015, nobody made Buhari president. Boss Mustafa, as Gowon defends Buhari's legacy, says Buhari's integrity unshaken, even critics can deny it. Well, if you have integrity and you don't know how to rule, you really don't have any any reason to be anywhere. If you have integrity, then probably you just probably have to uh, be a cleric and keep your integrity instead of coming to disturb people who really want good governance. Even without integrity, frankly speaking. A lot of persons are saying that this is the worst government. I'm talking about Buhari's government now. The worst government that you can have rule a third world country. We moved from Jonathan to Buhari and from Buhari to Dagaban. So a lot of persons are not really optimistic about the economy, given that it has, nosedived in the last couple of years. And nobody is really excited about what the economy is saying, what it's doing to their pockets. Anyways, to other development, TED Fund threatens to delist underperforming beneficiary institutions. All right, find out the details on the Daily Independent newspaper. Now we're moving to the Nation newspaper this morning. On the Nation this morning, Nigeria's tax reform gets IMF's backing. Nigeria's tax reform gets IMF backing. FIRS good to run it. Count Court nullifies conversion of Nikon's 170.7 million pounds by Union Bank. EFCC seeks law to criminalize unexplained wealth. All right, good move, good move. Seeking document approval to criminalize unexplained wealth is also very important. Aviation experts knock splash of cash by states on unaviable airports. Aviation experts knock splash of cash by states on unviable airports. 365.4 billion naira spent by 19 subnationals. FANMD only 3 airports profitable. All right, this is actually very, very interesting and very important, given that very recently we have seen that the aviation minister consistently have said that government cannot continually, in any way, run airports, that private sector should come in. And by way of private sector, it could be a PPP between the state government, which Enugu State has just keyed into. And so they are saying clearly they are not able to continuously do this. But one would wonder really to what extent can that really get us? There's some other headlines on the Nation newspaper this morning. Federal government opens talks with U.S. over visa restriction. Tinubu reforms building on Buhari's legacy. Senate's House minority leaders gang up against president's not option now. Senate House minority leaders gang up against president's not option now. Find out the details on the Nation newspaper. We're moving now over to the Tribune newspaper, and quickly also on the Tribune this morning. Let's see what we have. Let's see if we can adjust it a little bit so you could have something a little bit clear from your end. So, Ponzi scheme, Senate's faults weak regulatory rose by CBN, SEC, others probe loss of 1.3 trillion naira in CBEX crash. Court slams 1 million euros damages against Union Bank over breach and negligence, where the writer awards 50 million naira damages in favor of Nikon Investments Limited. Union Bank heads to appeal courts. Well, it looks like a showdown with that development there. And of course, the screaming headlines on the Tribune newspaper this morning. Buhari's popularity won 12.5 million votes for APC in 2015. Ex SGF Mustafa, with the writer says ACN, CPC, other major parties brought 3 million votes. Buhari administration stood on pillars of integrity, says Tinubu. Indeed. Well, before the 2015 election, truth be told, he has had a certain block vote. See, he had between 2003, 2007, 2011, he has had these block votes, coming from the north, largely from the north. It's a certain between 3 million and 6 million votes. So a lot of persons thought that with Jagaban, Tinubu, bringing in his ACN, which is a special bloc from the southwest, and a vice presidential candidate who was also a, a pastor, Vice President Osibajo. That was what actually that particular number. So I wonder why he's trying to twist history, but whatever it is, as long as it suits you at the moment, you have to milk it. To some other headlines, UAE imposes fresh visa conditions on Nigerians, bans transit visa. 2027, ADC raises the alarm, alleges plots to clamp down on opposition leaders. Ex-APC National Chairman Ganduje appointed FAN Board Chairman. 3 police officers, 2 soldiers die as security forces kill 30 bandits in Katsina. Suspected bandits kill 13 in Niger community. Find out the details this morning. And still on the Tribune newspaper this morning, Oyo government procures 2 aircraft to improve security. ICPC recovers 21 billion naira from salary fraud in one investigation. With the writer Ford's revenue declared by NNPCL. ICPC recovers 21 billion naira from salary fraud in one investigation. I can imagine. Fayemi Oyebanji won't leave our party for ADC, says APC. Pretty interesting how corruption has dealt with us. Every now and then we scream that there is no monies, we don't have people who are employed. There's massive fraud with salaries, and every single time government come on board, new government come on board, there tend to be this increased point of salary fraud. This is how I guess they do it, because I've heard somebody explain to us how it, especially in the ministries, what happens is people pay people salaries that don't exist. Like you in a comp in the ministry, say for instance, let's say Ministry of Foreign Affairs, you could have like 300 or 3,000 people who are receiving salaries, but these 3,000 persons don't exist. How does that happen? They're fictitious names, all right? Fictitious names that they throw up, and then put it up on and put those names together and send it to the banks, and then open open a bank account for these fictitious names, and then they pay salaries to those names every single month. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. They pay salaries to these they pay salaries to these names every single month. I mean, most of the time they do these things with the banks, because the banks have to be aware of these things in order for it to get to to get to fruition. And of course, the banks will have their own court. The manager there, or whoever is facilitating it, would have their own court. And so how it goes is, for every transaction, for every one individual whose transaction falls through, they get a certain percentage. So the banks always fall into that trap to accept it. And for the fact that it's even coming from a government parastatal, and from a government angle, it is clear that it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, they just accept it and move with it. So you see a situation where is your books will be reading that you have 300,000 workers pay salaries, but what is the actual amount of people who come to work is actually within the neighborhood, say, of 100,000 or 50,000, and then the rest are just ghost workers receiving salaries, and these monies are actually being siphoned to another account, the cycle continues year in, year out. And this even sometimes continues even past the government, that is existing at the time. So it is that devastating. The craze for wealth is just mind-boggling, and I think that if that is not really checked, I don't think there's anything that's going to happen anytime soon. This is His Media, and of course, we're doing the headlines out of the papers this morning. Today is Thursday, the 10th of July, 2025. Hope you're good out there. Let's see if we can grab other headlines on the Daily Trust papers this morning. Tinubu didn't make Buhari president. Boss Mustafa says UAE reviews visa process for Nigerians, bans transit applications. Plateau crisis, Reps panel invites Mufwang Lalong to security conference. Plateau crisis, Reps panel invites Mufwang Lalong to security conference. We uncovered mind-boggling corruption in all sectors, says EFCC. EFCC has been singing this, and it does look like that there's something to it. I mean, there's virtually no time you would not look at the oil sector and you won't have a problem. And the crazy part of all of this is that successive presidents, in fact, it started under the Buhari's administration. We are seeing clearly that, for crying out loud, for goodness sakes, that we have humongous corruption issues in the National Assembly, not just the National Assembly, I'm talking about the oil sector, but we have the president who is the oil minister. So if you have the minister of our sector being the president, and the EFCC is saying that they have uncovered massive corruption in the oil sector, what exactly are they trying to say? They are indicting the president. So basically, the president is corrupt, because there's nobody who has been petroleum minister since the first of June 2023. It has always been the president. Before now, it has been Buhari all through the 8 years that he was the president. So what it means, the EFCC is saying clearly that the president is corrupt, being the minister of of petroleum. That's what it is, really. Where do we go from here? So, other headlines of the Daily Trust: strike, FCT Mole's third term extension for primary schools. I will defeat Metawale before 10 a.m. on election day. Zamfara governor. Federal government resumes trial of terrorists. Okay, well, we've always seen this trial of terrorists, but we really never see the result or the end of it. Elsewhere, 13 killed as bandits attack Niger communities. 30 gunmen neutralized in Katsina. 13 killed as bandits attack Niger communities. 30 gunmen neutralized in Katsina. It's really saddening. Every single day we hear about some of these crazy headlines about the deaths of our kinsmen from all parts of the country. We hear numbers. Numbers feels like, it's nothing, and it's human beings that are just being killed by marauding non-state actors, which has not really given us any direction at all. Anyways, we're moving now over to the Punch newspaper this morning. diplomatic tensions. Federal government pushes back as US, UAE tighten visa rules, with the rather ministry begins high-stakes negotiation as officials fault US over reciprocity claims. Federal government pushes back as US, UAE tighten visa rules. Ministry begins high-stakes negotiation as officials fault US over reciprocity claim. And so, in other headlines this morning, US meeting, African leaders seek Trump support to develop resources. Okay, makes some sense if it's about developing your resources. But of course, beware of Trump. He is a businessman and he will go the whole hog in making sure that he milks it. So beware of the kind of business or the kind of resources you are trying to grab from him. Anyway, so some other headlines on the Punch newspaper this morning. IMF pledges support for FIRS on tax reforms. Local government poll. Please restrict movement in Lagos. Deploy squads. Indeed, we know that Lagos is going to have their local government elections for the first time in a long while. And so we're looking forward to it. It's going to be this Saturday, so it's fingers crossed. Tinubu government seeking excuse to clamp down on coalition, says ADC. The ADC is already shouting, they're crying and screaming from all parts of their heart and on their mouth that Tinubu is basically seeking excuse to clamp down on coalition. They have been doing this since the formation of the coalition some few days back. And nobody's going to sit back and watch you form a coalition to beat them if they don't do something about it. It does look like the government has doubled down on PDP because they love the fact that the PDP is in disarray. And so if PDP is in disarray, so it looks like the coalition is the only group of persons who are looking like they are going to be organized enough for the 2027 elections. There's also another brewing issue that has cropped up, the issue of who becomes a flag bearer of the party, the ADC, come 2027. I mean, that's the only thing that I see, that I smell, that might be a huge problem for the ADC party, because if you look at what has happened in the last few years, you would think that because the numbers, though the presidency as presently constituted favors the South, one would have thought that the South should continue from 2027 to finish off in 2031. But Kenneth Okonkwo, with his analysis yesterday, stated clearly that that may not happen. And Chimamanda had some great words for him, but we'll come to that shortly. But let's just give you some updates regarding some of the other headlines that we're following for you in terms of social media. Well, this is one that is quite interesting, I should say. Trump is out again with his interesting position. The way and manner that he addressed Liberian president yesterday while they were at the White House, it was quite interesting. He was telling the president, Liberian president, that he speaks so well. Like, he speaks so well. Liberia is an African country, yes, but I'm shocked that he didn't know that Liberia is even an English-speaking country. I'm thinking that maybe he would have thought that he be expecting someone with an accent, but he got shocked really by what the way and manner the Liberian president spoke. Let's see if we can grab that video and come back afterwards.
Anniversary we did at Liberia at your embassy. Mr. President, we thank you for this opportunity to be here. Liberia is a longtime friend of the United States, and we believe in your policy of making America great again. And we also go a long way with you in your diplomacy that has to do with economic development and commercial friendship. Liberia has a lot of minerals, and one of the things we ask as good friends for a long time is the opportunity to do a survey of our minerals. And also we are committed to peace, and we've been very lucky within our region. We are a country that have had series of democratic elections, and our country had been cooling down. And also we want to encourage American involvement in the investment in Liberia. We'd like to see that happen. We want to work with the United States in peace and security within the region, because we are committed to that. And we just want to thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well,
Very
and
good, sir.
they come from.
It was quite shocking. I mean, that Trump did not even know that Liberia is actually an English-speaking. If he has a sense of history, he would know that Liberia, for the life of me, since independence, has always been a country that is English-speaking, and for the president to speak that way is normal in Liberia. I'm sure that he thought that Liberia, probably we've heard this over and over again, that most Americans think Africans live under the tree, they don't have roofs over their homes or their houses, or they live in bushes, they look like animals. I mean, I can imagine this the surprise on the face of Donald Trump. And by the way, for you to know that Donald Trump thinks that way, that is exactly who Donald Trump is. He doesn't hide it. It's not like he's doing that to, condescendingly. Like I've seen people say that it was condescending for him to have said what he said to the Liberian president. I just thought that's who Donald Trump is. He was shocked, very, very shocked. He was expecting to hear, accents in the English, like what we see in South Africa. South Africa speak English, but there's this accent that comes with, their English. Same thing with, most East African nations. They speak English, but it comes with certain accents, that makes it African, and it's also beautiful because it becomes almost original when it's spoken with the country's accent. So track back to the Liberian president. So he was expecting to hear those accent, but he saw that this guy's voice sounded even better than the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, who had just visited him earlier. He said this sounded really better than even, and he even said that there are some people within his cabinet that doesn't even speak as good, as the Liberian president. And it was quite shocking and stunning too, that he would have that mindset. I mean, a little Google would give you, an idea of the Liberia. Liberia was one of the transit points of slave trade. That's the whites used. So if you talk about UK, if we talk about some of these nations, that they were big with transatlantic slave trade. Liberia was one of the routes that they used. So it's shocking that he didn't know that. But maybe President Trump, somebody who came out from entertainment world. So what do you expect from someone like that, really? So everyone is just saying like, just let it slide. It's him, and that's what he does, and that some of these things are mostly something that he does for fun and some for entertainment. What haven't we seen with Trump's presidency?
I am 69 years old. I consider myself now already too old to be a cabinet minister. I consider myself such that I've given my children the authority that if I'm still alive at 75 and they hear that I've gone to some political meeting other than, sitting at home and giving elders advice, they should immediately have me arrested and brought home because I may have somehow begun to go senile and not realize what I promised them. You don't have people who are certain age running around. Yes, they may still be the most capable of people, but it's not fair to the next generation. Ministers should typically be in their 40s and 50s, and perhaps president, vice president could be in their 50s and 60s. But anybody who is over 75 who's running, I think should generally not think that, this is the way. They should consider themselves fathers of the nation. That's the way I see the gathering together. That these fathers of the nation have gotten together. They should now then find younger people to advise and show the way to make a difference.
Okay, so that was Pat Utomi stating clearly. It was quite funny, the part where he said something like that his kids, he's considered himself very, very old to be a cabinet minister. That if somewhere around 75, his kids, that his kids see him, running for one meeting, from one political meeting to another, they should arrest him. I can imagine the scenario, playing out, that your father is going out for a cabinet meeting or going out for one political meeting or another at 75, because that's what keeps him going. He's 69, and it's quite interesting that he's 69. It's that old. Wow. So, and then as kids, you speak about going to arrest him because that's what he had told you guys some few years down the line. So you don't want him to going around at that age, doing that. But again, even though it was quite funny, but again, it makes us think again. It makes us start thinking along the lines of, is it possible to have somebody or to have a law that restricts a certain age grade from taking office? Because it's beginning to look really devastating. I mean, we moved from Goodluck Jonathan. In fact, let's go back from the democratic setting. 1999, we had Obasanjo, we had Yaradua, who's quite old. Obasanjo was old, for crying out loud. We had Yaradua had a Goodluck Jonathan by circumstance. Then we had a Buhari by voting. I don't want to lose my numbers from the north. So we also had the Tinubu by voting, of course, by INEX numbers from the south. And these guys, average age of the president since 1999 up until date has been 70. And our age in Nigeria for working good and retiring after 30 years of service, yes, it's 60, 65. So what in the world are we doing with having people who are 70 and above come to rule us? Someone told me that once you are 70, you're no longer ambitious. You're already looking at wrapping up your life. Frankly, at 70, nobody's going to employ you to come and work in their farm, work in their workplace. You are either running your own business. If you're a successful person, you're running your own business and you have chains of businesses that are keeping you going. Also, maybe something that can keep you busy, basically. So at 70, you're not looking to serve anybody. You are probably looking to go to more church. You are looking to serve more, more humanity, because you have seen it all. So you're not ambitious. You're no longer pushing to be ambitious, to want to achieve something, because your time has passed. As against somebody who is 40, somebody who is 45, somebody who is 50, looking at life ahead of them. They're looking at their kids. They're looking at the future. They're looking at what they can do to better their lives and better their lot. And I frankly agree with them. Once you are 70 or even at 65, is it possible, just as we have in the government circle, where you have worked 30, 35 years, and even if you have not worked 30, 35 years, as long as you've clocked 65, 70, shift in politics, specifically in politics, is it possible to do that? That's another way we can actually give hope to the generation that is coming behind us. So that we are in one way thinking straight, that we're giving them the opportunity to rule and to be ambitious, just as, every other person can be. All right, let's turn our attention to Reno Mokri, who, for the life of me, has been up and running with the response of Peter Obi when he said a few things in his interview some few days back. He's stating clearly that he's seen that the ADC might most likely give a northerner the ticket for their own presidential candidates. Who could that be and why?
One thing that these people all have in common is that they all lost in 2023. All of them, all the names that you mentioned, they all lost in 2023.
Yeah, but so what if they lost?
Yeah, so if you form a...
I mean, many of them don't even
Can I answer your question?
Lost.
If you form a losers convention, so, I mean, why should I be afraid of you? You're forming a losers convention. I mean, why should I be afraid of you? It happens all the time. In the United States, we see people forming a losers convention. When you gather negative thinkers together, there's more negativity.
Right. Well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way is that there is a certain logic behind it. They don't want to split their vote, which collectively beat Tinubu hands down in 2023. I mean, Tinubu got 37% of the vote. Atiku and Obi combined got 54%. So on that score, would you concede that they appear to have learned some lessons from the last election? Because both Atiku and Obi feel that they might have won on a joint ticket in 2023.
That is, you're not up to date. Because in his last interview on channels, Peter Obi said, and I'm quoting him, "I will contest the 2027 election."
But a joint ticket, let me just make this point. A joint ticket doesn't mean that they're necessarily running that. In other words, that they're combining forces.
Yeah, but if Peter Obi says he's running, if Waziri Atiku Abubakar says he's running...
Well, he hasn't said that.
Waziri Atiku Abubakar has not said he's running. Oh, please. Anyway, so let me just finish now. So if Peter Obi says that he's going to run, if we are seeing from every indication that Waziri Atiku Abubakar wants to run, if we are seeing Amaechi submitting a proposal to the ADC officially for a one-term presidency, I mean, who have you seen any coalition there? There's no coalition. What you're just seeing is egos, different egos. The man Peter Obi is, based on what has happened in the past, is very unlikely to get the ticket of the ADC, because if you see what's happening with the ADC, he doesn't have that clout within the ADC. I have a good idea who's likely going to get the ticket. It's likely going to go to a northerner, and the man has said, "I'm definitely going to run." So what you just said, that premise is wrong. There is no coalition, there is no joining of forces. This is just egos going here and there.
Okay, so that was Reno Omokri there, giving his 2 cents and stating clearly what Peter Obi would most likely do. He was actually with Charles Adiagolo, who, by the way, is one of the respected broadcasters across Nigeria right now, on Channels TV, or giving his 2 cents. So he's saying clearly that the ADC might not give tickets to Peter Obi. The ADC might not give the ticket to Peter Obi, and the numbers are actually adding up. And it's likely that they might not give him the ticket. But I'm just thinking to myself, what would be the plan B of Peter Obi if he loses out in the primaries of the ADC? What would be the plan B of Atiku if he loses the primaries of the ADC? And I also noticed that there's a story yesterday that I saw that Peter Obi and El-Rufai are planning to pull out, or they are threatening to pull out if the ticket is not zoned to the south. Because, I mean, it's no-brainer. This same El-Rufai is the guy that made sure that Tinubu clenched that ticket, that power must go to the south, because of the fact that Buhari has done 8 years, and it's only plausible and it's only fair for power to return to the south, and he supported Tinubu to emerge as the presidential candidate of the APC in 2023. And so they are saying, I saw a story. I can't really confirm. That's why I'm not playing out. I was showing you numbers, but I saw a story that actually stated that El-Rufai and Peter Obi are also looking to pull out not only pulling out, they're also thinking of the fact that if the ticket is not zoned by the party officials, that they may most likely have to let go the party and then join another party altogether in order to champion their cause. All right, let's see if we can go to some other headlines that we are following for you. Chimamanda is berating Kenneth Okonkwo about his comment is made about ADC fielding another candidate. That's the only candidate that would beat the ruling All Progressives Congress. All right, let's read what she says about Kenneth Okonkwo's comments. Okay, I'm sure it's too tiny from where you are. Let's see if I could read it up from here. Nigerian author and activist Chimamanda Adichie has openly criticized actor and politician Kenneth Okonkwo over his recent remarks about the 2027 presidential election. Okonkwo has suggested that the African Democratic Congress (ADC) should field a northern candidate, arguing that the southerner cannot defeat President Bola Tinubu, who also hails from the south. In a post by Chimamanda via her official X handle on July 9, 2025, Chimamanda expressed disappointment, saying Okonkwo's position reflects a troubling pattern among Igbo politicians. According to her, they often fail to support one another during the national elections. She noted that, unlike the political elites, it is the youth who have consistently backed Peter Obi. She wrote that each Igbo politician wants to stand alone rather than unite behind a common cause. Chimamanda went further to criticize Okonkwo's preference for an elderly candidate, pointing out that the irony in backing someone who will be 80 years old by 2027 instead of supporting a younger, more dynamic figure like Obi. Her comments have ignited widespread debate on social media, particularly among youths calling for generational change, unity among Igbo leaders. So basically, she's putting it out there that Igbo leaders don't really support themselves. So I think we have a second leg of that conversation. Let's see if we can grab that too, to see if we can take some more points from what she has said. If we've got some time to spare, yeah. She says, quote, Igbo politicians don't support each other during election. Is this not tribalism? Chimamanda is insinuating that Igbos must support Igbos, but when Yoruba supports Tinubu, they insult and abuse them, calling them tribalists. Even when others support the president, they accuse them of having been paid or hired. But here is somebody who poses as a mentor, mounts podiums to preach equity and fairness, but she is a closet tribalist. The only problem I have with these people is the fact that they pretend, lie, and disguise they want a better alternative, irrespective of tribe and religion, rather than being honest to say they want Igbo presidency. You cannot disguise forever, like a proverb says, the dead you buried secretly. His feet are showing outside. Stop disguising, come out with your full chest, and embrace your tribalism. Kiss the truth. As someone actually responding to what Chimamanda says, Chimamanda actually went all ballistic with the fact that Igbos don't really support themselves in times like this. So I'm wondering really what exactly would be the underlying issue regarding this topic. But tell me what you think, though. I would love to hear from you as always. What do you think about this development? Do you think Chimamanda was right in her own perspective, stating clearly that the Igbos don't support themselves, the Igbo elites specifically don't support themselves. They don't like to galvanize around one political bigwig who is making rounds. They like to stand alone. She took the tribal route, but one would wonder why would she take the tribal route? But then again, she's trying to speak her own truth. She's trying to speak from where she is, and everybody's got their opinion. We also had somebody who berated her and stated that, look, clearly, it's a tribal slur, this is tribal thoughts, and it really doesn't pay anybody any good. But let us know what you think. Drop your comments on the comments. I'd love to hear from you as always. I want to appreciate every one of you for supporting, for being on this channel, for even playing back when this channel closes out. Remember, we're going to have another broadcast later in the day around 2 p.m. So find out what topic we were discussing. We could also have some excerpts from this particular broadcast to be done at that time. And if there's any breaking news that is huge, of course, we would surely bring it for you, for your watching and your listening pleasure. It will be my pleasure to always come here to dissect some of the biggest headlines across Nigeria and around the world. Many thanks. Appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Charles, and this is Cheesy Media. Have yourselves a beautiful day just ahead. So bye. Take care.